Good evening, dignitaries, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to invite you all for this evening session on the topic Engineering the Future Trends, Innovation, and Opportunities. Uh, to all the participants, we have a galaxy of speakers lined up for this special evening. We are going to start off initially with a keynote address by none other than Padma Bhushan Dr. Sivadonu Pillai, distinguished scientist at DRDO and ISRO, and who's also the founder, CEO, and managing director at BrahMos Aerospace, the company which was responsible for the development of BrahMos supersonic missile, a missile that has got no parallels anywhere in the world even today. We also have a panel discussion comprising of erudite speakers from Mr. V. Ram, CTO of BFSI at TCS, Mr. Shankar Venugopal, Head of Technology Innovation, Intellectual Property and Technical Capability Building at Mahindra & Mahindra, Mr. Mohan Krishnaraj, Global Head of User Experience at Harman International, which is a Samsung company, and Dr. Guru Prasad Rao, Director and Mentor at Imaginarium India Private Limited. Following the keynote address, we'll also have a small panel discussion. So request you all to kindly make use of the session. We'll also have you can make use of the chat window to type your questions. But before we get into action, I would like to call upon our chairperson, Dr. Mrs. Thangam Meghanathan, to deliver her welcome address and also set the context for today's event, and thereby set the ball rolling on what promises to be a very fantastic evening. Over to you, chairperson, madam, for the welcome remarks.
Thank you, Philip. It's a great pleasure. It's a lovely evening. Chennai is, I think all of us are from Chennai, and the climate has been very, very good today. It's not been like, thanks to less pollution owing to transportation and things like that. I think we've been having fairly good climate for past 1 month. I am very glad to welcome Padma Bhushan Dr. A. Sivadonu Pillai, distinguished scientist, DRDO and ISRO. Welcome, sir. We are looking forward to your wonderful, we've heard you a few times, but I know any number of times. It is always a great pleasure listening to you. Mr. V. Ram, Vice President, CTO, Chief Technology Officer. Of course, Philip has been introducing everybody. And Mr. Ram again is known to our campus. Mr. Dr. Shankar Venugopal, Vice President, Head Technology Innovation. Welcome you, sir. I think this is the first time we are meeting you, and it should be a great pleasure to listen to you. Mahindra & Mahindra, recently we've been hearing a lot about the innovative ideas that your headship has been coming out with, and I think it's a people like you, like industrialists like you, if you can pitch into this innovation and research and bring in kind of your own thought process and thought leadership in that can be a great way forward for improving on. Now we are talking about campuses, like world class campuses. So this kind of a research innovation by industries such as you can definitely help campuses to improve innovations and research. And Mr. Guru Prasad Rao and Mr. Mohan Krishnaraj, I take pleasure in welcoming everybody, and it is a wonderful topic that we are going to talk about, because I always mentioned this in most of my meetings, because see, we always talk about, when it comes to higher education, we immediately jump into like the Trimurtis Madri, we say engineering, law and medicine, but there are so many other programs, like related to medicine, health sciences, and we have legal related, and then liberal arts, and everything is there. But whatever said and done, like when it comes to medicine, you can innovate as far as whatever the God-given physiology is concerned, you can innovate within, and legal systems, you can innovate within the constitution of a country. But it is engineering that you can do a lot of innovations, because this is one particular kind of a thing based on science, where scope for innovation is very, very high. I think all of you are here to talk about that. And there is something called Trends, Innovation and Opportunities, Engineering the Future. See, 4 months back, I recall exactly the date, March 14th, when we had our graduation day for the other institution, wherein the governor of Tamil Nadu had come. And we finished the graduation day. As I was going for the graduation day, people were asking me, "Are you sure the governor is coming? There are lots of things about this COVID." And I said, "I don't know. I'm just going. There is no cancellation so far." And we went. We had the function. We got out of the campus. I never imagined that I would not go back for another 4 months, because it was that kind of a disruption. All of a sudden, the examinations had to be stopped and the hostels had to be vacated. And somewhere in January, February, we thought there is something going on somewhere. But March, we decided we have to close down. And then April, May, June, July, we've come through 4 months. And but for this technology that has been helping us through and through, I don't know what would have happened to us the 4 months. That's what I used to tell some of the close people, like, the 4 months we've been managing. Imagine if we did not have our telephone connection, or this internet connection, what would have been the state of affairs? I don't know. Maybe we would have been more blissful. I don't know. But then, these 4 months it has taught us that technology can come to your help at crisis like these. I mean, times of crisis like this. And this has helped us. But where is the way forward? What is the way forward is something that we need to definitely think about, because I always think that, particularly in education now, we've started our oncoming semester online. Teaching has begun with online, and we've decided maybe let's go forward for another 1 or 45 days online, and then take a call after that. The social distancing is something that is making us all think about. Like, I've had 3 or 4 consultations with my doctor online. Everything is very comfortably going online. So if education also can go online, it is good. But I don't know how far the teachers would relish that. Because for the teachers, it is always the connect with the students and looking at their eyes to see whether they've understood all these things. So trends, innovations, and opportunities. It was scary in March. I think today we are somewhat more comfortable, having had a lot of meetings online and understanding, okay, technology is helping us. And innovation, of course, has always been there, part of our, and opportunities are always there in adversities, they say. So with these words, I am very eagerly awaiting the erudite speakers, as mentioned by Philip, to throw light on these disruptive innovations that we are about to begin. Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, madam. Now let's quickly get on to the keynote address. But before the keynote address, I'd like to formally introduce the uh, guest speaker, Padma Bhushan Dr. A. Sivadhanu Pillai, distinguished scientist at DRDO and ISRO, who's also the founder, CEO, and managing director of BrahMos Aerospace. Dr. Pillai actually graduated in electrical engineering from Madras University and went on to complete his PhD from Pune University and Doctor of Science from Tumkur University. He also went through a management program at Harvard Business School. He had over 4+ decades of experience at ISRO and DRDO under the great visionary leaders Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, Professor Satish Dhawan, and Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, which made him a technology leader in the field of launch vehicles and guided missiles. His contribution to the successful development of SLV-3 as a core team member and evolution of PSLV configuration for ISRO have been remarkable. He was actually the man behind the Integrated Guided Missile Development Program, a very ambitious program started by the Government of India to build missile systems for the country, like the Agni, Prithvi, Nag, Trishul, and Akash. And Dr. Pillai was a core team member involved in development of all these missiles. Later, BrahMos Aerospace, which was a unique joint venture, first of a kind between India and Moscow, was proposed, and he became the founder, CEO, and the managing director of BrahMos Aerospace. BrahMos today is a world leader in the family of cruise missiles, surpassing those missiles that are available with the developed countries. Mr. Dr. Pillai is also regarded as the father of BrahMos, which has become a role model for, for establishing joint ventures between the countries. Well known as a defense technologist in this field, Dr. Pillai has been recognized by many prestigious engineering and management institutions with fellowships. He has received many honorary doctorates, at least from 12 reputed universities of India and Russia. The Moscow University of Security, Defense and Law Enforcement honored Dr. Pillai with the Order of the Peter the Great and the Academician of the University. Dr. Pillai has also published several papers in many reputed international and national journals and conferences. He has written many books, including Revolution in Leadership, Nanoscience and Nanotechnology for Engineering. He has also worked with Dr. Kalam as a co-author for the books Envisioning an Empowered Nation, Thoughts for Change, We Can Do It. Dr. Pillai is a recipient of several prestigious awards, including Technology Leadership Award, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai Research Award, Organization for Industrial, Spiritual and Cultural Advancement International Award from Japan, Raja Ramohan Puruskar Lokmanya Tilak Award, Lal Bahadur Shastri Award, Performance Excellence Award from the Institution of Industrial Engineering, and most importantly, Padma Shri in 2002, and he was also conferred the Padma Bhushan by the Government of India in 2013 for his contribution to aerospace and missile technologies. He is also given the Order of Friendship by the Government of Russia, the highest Russian award for foreign citizens for foreign citizens. We're extremely delighted to have you, Dr. Pillai. We'd love to now listen to you. Over to you now, sir. Thank you.
Good evening. Good evening to all of you. Respected Madam Tangam, Harry, Dr. Harry, and our good friends who are assembled, Ram, Dr. Shankar, Mr. Mohan. I like Mohan's smile in that photo. And Dr. Guru Prasad and many guests who are participating. And also, ladies and gentlemen, students are also there. So greetings to all of you. This topic is a very interesting topic, the future. When we talk about future, naturally innovation comes in. So I thought how the innovation is very important with certain examples, and then finally leading to what is in store for us. If you look at the science, technology, engineering, technology, what happens is when you add value to your technology or engineering, then you get competitive products. The future is in competitive products, and that will only give sustainable development for our society. So here the innovations, knowledge solutions, startups, they play a very important role. So technology innovations, or you call it engineering innovations, can affect the most fundamental changes, the ground rules of economic competitiveness and environment, resulting in sustainable development to the society. Now, we have seen many programs, we have seen particularly mission mode programs, we have seen the Green Revolution gave us food, otherwise we were depending on PL 480 from US government for wheat. White Revolution, when White Revolution was started by Verghese Kurian, the English people mocked at him saying, Indian milk is worse than the London drainage, they said. So he proved to them that they will drink the milk. Power, we have done something, but not fully. Supercomputer, of course, we have done well. It was refused to us, but we made the supercomputer. Communication, we are doing very well. IT, ITES, service, we are at the top. Then missiles, we have got strategic missiles. We have got aeronautics area. We have not done much, but it's okay. But the most important thing is space. We have done very well on the space program. So all these things have got certain amount of innovations. So I am going to talk certain things to you. You see that PSLV puts the satellite in the polar orbit, and that helps us to do the remote sensing. Then we have got the GSLV, which puts the satellite and the communication satellite in the geostationary orbit. So the thing is, our systems are reliable. 50 flights of PSLV consistently was reliable. This is a very remarkable achievement. In aerospace, you know, two shuttles have failed and they've stopped even the shuttle program. So many things are happening in aerospace, but we have seen that our launch vehicle is very reliable, and now it has the lowest premium for the people who are coming forward to put the satellite in our PSLV. They are very comfortable with us. So the 104 satellite launched in one PSLV. These are all remarkable achievements the ISRO has done, and we have put the satellite in the around Moon as well as the Mars. The rover program is very important because we have to identify some of the critical materials which are available on the moon. One such material is the one which I have indicated here, called helium-3. This is a non-radioactive material, amenable for our generation, 100 times better than uranium. And once we have the helium-3 using fusion energy, we'll be able to produce electric energy for the whole country without any problem at cheaper rates. But only thing is we have to go there, mine it, and bring it. That's the only process which you have to do. That means colonization of the moon is required. From 2024 onwards, the Americans are going to the moon again. They are going to, because they are very much interested on this helium-3. They have made detailed plans to see that we get the material for generating the energy, because they want to substitute the oil. So this is one thing. Second important thing on the moon is its gravity is 1/6 of the Earth. So it is possible to have our launches from the moon. So moon is going to become our launch pad for analyzing or for studying interplanetary missions. Going to Mars even, it will be better. So this is the thing which is revolving around 4 countries: the Americans, Russians, Chinese, and India. Europe is still behind. They are looking for cooperation. But so we have got an opportunity, because we have now already, we have got a moon program, and by in another 2 years we'll have a better landing, and then the rover will find the materials which is already found out by the others, but we will be satisfied when we find from our rover. And then the manned missions also we have planned. 2022 onwards, manned missions. They're all, even though this COVID is delaying things, they're delaying only the activities like launch pad operations and all. But overall, the planning for the manned missions and all is progressing. So this is one important thing. For that, you need fusion energy. So this is another innovation, that to make the fusion energies in the tokamak, which is 500 megawatt reactor, is being built in France with 7 countries together. India is part of it. We have got a share contribution of 10% in the overall realization of the reactor. What do you see? The big structure. What do you see? The structure which is outside, that is made as ready. L&T has made it and partly assembled, and it will be completed. The whole reactor will go, will be ready, critical. It will become critical in 2025. So at that point of time, we are parallelly working on the fusion energy, and at IPR, that is Institute of Plasma Research at Ahmedabad. So we will be able to make our own reactor for fusion energy. This is very important development. See, because we have got problem with uranium, it is not available. We have got plenty of thorium, but we have not succeeded in thorium based energy production. But this is going to be a big boon, because the energy level is very high for the fusion energy, and that too, helium-3 is 100 times energy producing material than uranium without any radioactivity. So this is the thing. Another important development which is going on for the researchers is the finding the God particle. See, if you go to CERN, which is a nuclear institution, which is also in France, the 26-kilometer circular, the circular they have built to eject the particle at faster rate. So there only they have found out the neutrino particle is going faster than the light. So that has been found out, and the work is going on in a big way in the Hadron Collider, and we are expecting in another 10 years' time they will tell what is that which made the universe. That is, the idea is to find out the universe, how it came. 13.7 billion years, 0.7 billion years before the universe came through a glow. How that glow has happened? That's the one which we are being doing. The research is being done. So when we come to now we come to our real work. The Dr. Kalam, when he started the program IGMDP, we were 30 to 40 years behind a developed country. And any system we make, missile system, user he will not accept, because he will always compare the best available in the world. So what we thought is we should have contemporary system we should make, and that should be based on technology innovation and newer concepts, which the others could not implement. So for example, when we think of surface missile, which is used by Army, Air Force, and Navy. You have seen taking the missile taking off from ship. So what is important here is all the world missiles, ballistic missiles. The Germans were the first to have the ballistic missile, and the Americans, Russians, all these people, they fly the missile in a ballistic trajectory. That is a parabolic trajectory. Science is that. Physics says if you go in faster speed to a greater height, then after that force is zero, it has to repeat its path. So what we have done, we have made a maneuverable trajectory. What you are seeing here is a maneuverable trajectory, which has got an azimuth you can change, pitch you can change. So the enemy who is monitoring our missile coming to him, he will not know where it is exactly going. So whenever he sees, oh, he is going here, he will project it from that point. So ultimately, when it reaches to the point which he was not expecting, he will not have time to react. So now ballistic missile, that is not possible for the enemy. So this concept was introduced first time by us. So the Indian mind is very powerful. So definitely we'll be able to overtake the developed countries if we want to. Then only it is possible. We should have because the MTCR came, Missile Technology Control Regime, we would make all the devices, materials, components, systems by our own. So this type of critical situation only our minds work. So this is one example of that. Another example is the sensors. You look at our inertial measurement unit. I was talking about the 3D printing to Dr. Rao. So the guidance package needs a complex structure which is to be made. Now the sensor which is there, they are all core sensors. Our HAL produces. This type of sensors will not give the accuracy to reach the terminal point. So if you want to reach the terminal point with greater accuracy, which is very important in sending a missile, we need to upgrade these sensors. We can't do it just like that. So 4 young people joined together, and they have found out how by injecting a software into hardware, we'll be able to make a gyro. A gyro is a hardware. They injected the software into the hardware and made it to work like automatically. It was improving the accuracy. But how they do it? They calibrated, found out the error. So they made a modeling for the error, and they did all the simulations in computer as well as in the 5-axis simulator, run the mission, and finally they found out that this error can be compensated. So they did a software for drift compensation and injected into the hardware. So this is also a new novel idea, which has been first time used, where accuracy compared to what a better device, better sensor could give. This is a big achievement. This is innovation. This is done by only young people who have just come from the college. They have done that. Another important requirement was for the Agni re-entry, the re-entry to be modeled. So by the time it comes to re-entry, you know Kalpana Chawla what happened. The re-entry point is shuttle blasted. So the thermal protection is very important. So this type of temperature there is 3000 degrees centigrade. So you have to protect. You need a different type of material. You need different type of shape so that it ablates uniformly and it goes to the correct point for the impact. So if it is to be done, you need big hypersonic tunnels. This is a hypersonic regime. You need hypersonic tunnels. You need to heat everything. It's a very difficult thing which nobody has got. The Americans and Russians have developed the tunnels, but we can't go to them. We are doing a mission like this. We wanted to do ourselves. So then we thought that we will do it by software. So software means the computational fluid dynamics we have to do. That needs a supercomputer. Supercomputer was refused to us. So we developed supercomputer. Cray XMP we wanted. It was refused. Dr. Abdul Kalam went all the way to Washington to request for a supercomputer. They refused him. So then the people, 14 young people joined together and they developed a parallel processor which was 20 times faster than the Cray XMP, which was refused to us. So that's how the supercomputer era has come. Param came later, but we have done this before. And we are doing now petaflop computers using this. So things have changed because unless you can't. Any iteration which you have to do, it was taking 9 days. But after the development of this supercomputer, it was taking only 5 minutes. So that is the type of development our people done. This is another innovation. So this what you are seeing is the Agni missile. 5 different types of Agni missiles are there, and 5,000 kilometers is our range with a nuclear payload. So this missile was going to 5,000 kilometers. This is the one which I said that the computing, supercomputer development for the computational fluid dynamics to fine tune the shape. There were hundreds of shapes. So we had to go for the grid points, each shape having 100,000 grid points. And each grid point was taking 9 days using the conventional computer. Finally, with the computer which we developed called PACE Plus, 1.7 gigaflop, 20 times faster than Cray XMP, which made us to go for 5 minutes for iteration for 9 days. So young minds take the challenges. So this is another missile which is interesting. That's why I'm putting it. It's only 4 kilometers. It's used in the desert for war, from one tank to another tank. What the world has seen is firing a missile directly to the tank so that it can be destroyed. But what happened was all the missile hulls have been thickened, 800 millimeter thick armor plate, that too reactive armor. So if you do number of launches, number of missiles if you put, you will get only a dent, you'll get it. So we thought we didn't want to go in their route. Anyway, innovation has to come. So we found out in the top of the tank, there is only one small hole through which the operator goes inside. That has got a door of 40 millimeter thick. So we thought that it should take a shape of cobra. That's why it's called null. Hit only the manhole. So that's what we have done. It is extremely difficult to identify exactly the small manhole and hit it, and one stroke you can finish off that tank. This was done first time in the world. See, this is the type of thing our people innovate. So then we wanted to do this cruise missile. After seeing the Gulf War, we thought we should also have a cruise missile. That was not contemplated in the IGMDP. So we were looking for what type of cruise missile we can develop. So this is a time I was in Harvard. So I studied what happened in the Gulf War, because Raytheon was nearby in the industry, American industry. So I went there, talked to them. So now then we've thought these Americans are flying Tomahawk, which is subsonic. So we decided we will not follow them. We should have supersonic missile. Then we need an engine for that. You're developing an engine, you know, in our country, engine development is a pathetic scene. So any development of a new engine for a supersonic missile is going to take 15 to 20 years. So we thought we should get it. Finally, I located one engine in Russia when the Soviet Union crashed. It was kept in the corner and they were not knowing what to do with that. So I said, I want this engine. So they said, you can take the technology transfer and you can produce in your place. So then I came to Dr. Kalam and then we worked out the thing. Finally, we found a joint venture will be better. So we formed a joint venture with the Russians, India contributing 50.5 and the Russians contributing 49.5. This is a very important ratio. If it is 50-50, we become equal. We wanted to have one step better than the Russians. Second thing is, by putting 50.5, we are becoming a private industry. If it is a 51, it will become a PSU. So we thought we should not get into the government clutch. So we made a private industry using government money and formed a JV, joint design, development, manufacturing, and marketing. So from the concept to the end, we have planned an integrated setup in the company, system design, system engineering, system integration, and system management. The concepts should be with us, and all other things should go to industry. This is what we have done. We used our process stock, mainly the guidance software, onboard computer, various platforms, all ours. And the Russian contribution is mainly the supersonic engine, ramjet technology. So we did that and we have succeeded in making for different platforms, different targets, different trajectories, different places. It is the only universal missile supersonic in the world. So we are the first in the world. And you can see that compared to American Tomahawk, we are 3 times faster. Time to hit the target 1/3, kinetic energy is 9 times because its velocity square. Then target dispersion is less, so hit probability is high. Reaction time is less for the enemy, so he cannot defend himself. We have adopted universality. Tomahawk does not have. Salvo, every 3 seconds, missile can go to a different target from land and sea. So we are number 1 in the world. So you can see this missile is going with the rocket against the ship. You will see within 4 minutes the whole enemy is like there. This is without warhead, this left side, a large platform. We hit it and destroyed it. So accuracy, speed, we are the fastest in cruise missile. Precision, we always hit the target. And power, we have got a higher power because of the velocity increase. This is from Andaman Sea to Nicobar Islands. A small target is there, just hit the target. It has to maneuver through various islands and go and hit them. Another one is the from the land. Here this is a factory type of thing, and it has to go hit the factory without war. These are without warhead. So you will see only hit. Okay. So now the innovation next comes on the hypersonic. From speed 3 Mach number, we are now going to Mach 7. That means it needs a new development, new engine development called scramjet engine. There's a big development that's involved in the material because the speed, when the speed is high, the temperature is high. So these are all things we are doing now. And we want this missile to go and come back. Like Sudarshan Chakra, we want to operate. This is our idea. So if you see the war theater today, we have moved from the human centric to platform centric during this World War to now is a network centric. So information warfare is going to play a very important role, cyber war. So we here the main thing is space missiles will be missile to missile, then the satellite to satellite. These are the space to space, space to earth, and earth to space. All these wars are going to happen. So we may say that we are developing for peace. No, when war comes, everything will be operating. So we are in the 6th wave of innovation. Now, new thing, the 6th wave is called intelligent technologies. That's what is going to happen. And the industry 4.0 is based on that as a cyber systems, physical systems, Internet of Things, all going to come. So these are the building blocks for the industry 4.0. The things will be autonomous, robots will come, big data analytics, augmented reality, 3D printing, and additive manufacturing, and cyber security, industrial Internet of Things, then the simulation, integration, all these things are going to be there. These are the requirements for the future, and our youngsters must work on this. So what are the systems which are going to come because of these innovations, because of the industry 4.0? So we are thinking of invisible battle tank. How you can make battle tanks invisible. Then how to make the radars very smart and small. Then looking at the nanomaterial for surface protection. Ships will get corrosion. To avoid corrosion, how the nanomaterial can be used. There are a lot of experiments have been done on that. Then micro UAVs, brain implant chips. Then brain computer interface, because once you have the helmet should be smart, and it should complete protection. Everything has to be done through the helmet for the soldier. Then wireless soldier, nano energetics, our propellant, all systems should be more energetic. Then you are seeing a boy is having a smart banyan. This banyan, once it is worn, it is giving all the details about the physical performance of the soldier. Particularly in Siachen, when they are there, we need to monitor their fatigue, heart rate, all details, ECG, everything has to come, but doctor will be in the ground. So the number of soldiers, nearly 3,000 soldiers to be monitored through telemetry by a doctor. So this is what is happening on that. So energy storage. Then the future brain on a chip. They say 2029 will be having the brain replaced, is what they are saying. Is another big innovation has to come. Then the telephone, when you talk to your friend, the friend will, now it is appearing in the FaceTime. The future, he will be standing in front of you. Some time back, we were discussing how do we have meetings. It should be personal meetings, that instead of through the virtual meeting. So that type of possibilities, not fully, will be there. So there are many things, new things which are coming. So now we are seeing there is a large money flow happening in the startups. This 2019, we have seen that 663 crore has been spent on startups. different people are investing. Some projects are even 7.5 crore start thing because the education system is like that. I am seeing in the IIT students how they are enthusiastic to go for startups. So this is one important thing, and TCS is supporting some of the startups. Many organizations have come forward to help the engineering, that is IIT students, to get into startups. I gave one project on augmented reality. They have done extremely well. So there are a lot of possibilities to use the students. So from Rajalakshmi Engineering College students also, we should promote them to get into startups. That is the future. Then the many things are opportunities are there. Some of the opportunities are telemedicine is going to come in a big way. Like this, Mrs. Tangam was telling, she consulted the doctor through through phone or through internet. So telemedicine, telesurgery is going to come. It's a robotic surgery. Doctor will be in different place and will be in different place, can be operated. The first operation has been done in Paris, doctor sitting in New York. They have done that. Then education technologies will change in the years to come. These are all invention points, the innovation points. The students can think of new innovations in each area. Then online entertainment, artificial intelligence and data science, drone-based solutions. We are thinking future war. We can send thousands of drones with warhead and finish off the enemy. Instead of all these missiles or everything, we'll send drones like a bird. They go and finish off. And digital solutions for supply chain is also going to come digitally. So this is another area where people can work. So new paradigms is that cash burnout is key. Then now there's a risk involved in all the startups. Some of the startups are not materialized, not some, many not materialized. So we have to have an arrangement for taking care of the risk. So India is a great nation. We are the pioneers of engineering and technology. We were the first to make an alloy, the dancing girl, that Panchaloga, this one by investment casting. The West found out investment casting only some 300 years before. We have done it many centuries before. And this iron pillar in Delhi, that Qutub Minar, 3,000 years old iron pillar. You see that is no rust. So no metallurgist can say how rust is not coming in a wrought iron. War rocket, first war rocket we have only found out. So many things are there. Like I am not only indicating something, there are many innovations which happened in our place before the Europeans woke up. Europeans woke up only in the after say 800 years before. But we were the pioneers 2000 years before. And but we, after they came in, we became slaves and we forgot everything. And the World War I, World War II, many new things came. And the revolution came, industrial revolution, we didn't participate. Nano revolution, we partly participate because we are a free country. But we have to take a lead in the nanotechnology and this space research and human machine interface, we have to take lead. So if we can take a lead, this is an opportunity because the COVID has made developed countries small today. So we have got greater opportunity to compete with them. Many things up about the service station, satellite services. These are all innovations only. But looks very exotic, but don't think about that. It is all possible. So mining of scarce resources, big industries have to come. They have to put their industries on the moon, on asteroids, bring the material. Factory on the moon for mining helium-3, for electricity generation, dry ice deposits on the moon and Mars. They are source of the fuel for rocket engines. Moon to be the hub for transportation, and that is for rocket launchings. Solar power satellites can power the floating power stations which can desalinate water, seawater, and give good water to us. So safety against possible asteroid collision. One asteroid is just flying away from Earth, but it's not dangerous. But there's one danger going to come, that is in 2880, 60 in the March. Asteroid is going to hit on the Earth. 1/3 of the Earth will be affected. So now itself planning has started how to divert the asteroid. Solar sails for interplanetary travel, then like that, so space debris. So these are going to come in the years to come. We'll have some interesting thing in the space arena, and also every one of us will get work because space is going to be opened. So industries will have a good opportunity to contribute. Academic institutions should introduce space as a big program. Today, we have to educate our students on the space research. So we have to go in a big way on that. So this is the future. Next 100 years, how it is going to look. So finally, we will land up on another Earth. That is what is going to happen, because our Earth is not that good. The things are going to get damaged more and more. Like the Mars. Mars was once a beautiful place, livable place, 1 billion years before. And now today, you see, Mars has become dry. So things will change, and the Earth also will get into problem. So we should not lose our human race. Thank you very much. So the many areas are there for innovation, and the students who are listening, they should think and work out how they can contribute in many areas. Good areas are of course, you have got veterans sitting here. They are the experts in that. You have to identify their organizations, work with them, and space, defense, and nuclear. They are also going to be very important. They are strategic. And you have got the areas like using satellites, you can do the precision farming to get better yield at reduced area. So many things are possible, and everything is open to you for innovation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. That was a pretty fascinating insight into some of the brilliant work done by our research labs. To think that all these have been achieved against all control regimes, this has been a truly magnificent effort pulled off by our Indian scientists. And also the message from you is pretty loud and clear, sir. Don't get defeated by problems. That was, I think, is one single takeaway that our audience would have got from the whole of this presentation. So we're really thankful, and we're really indebted to you, Lord, for having spared your precious time with us to share your thoughts and insights with all of us. Thank you so much, sir.